I'm Vivek, working at Zoho, and I'm actually an Android developer. I don't have any knowledge about DevOps, so that's a clear preview. And I'm going to talk about CI/CD. Okay, just a quick survey. How many of you are aware of UI testing, Espresso unit testing? So are you actually following it? Little bit. So this process is much more helpful if you're actually following it, and so if there is some issue during the testing phase or during the deployment phase, you actually have to go through all of this process again. So that is boring and it is time consuming. So CI/CD is here, and it is actually like a Superman. And what we do is CI means continuous integration. Just assume a scenario where you have like four or five developers working together on a single project. How often do you commit the code? Daily. So that is the thing here. And if all of you have a separate branch, development branches, and if you don't commit daily or if you don't merge the code, that will actually lead to integration hell. So integration hell is where someone actually adds some dependency or some module or some class files, and others doesn't know about it, and that actually leads to a lot of issues when you actually like build the project. So CI is a process where you merge the code often, and you need these things. So you need a VCS integration, either Git or SVN or Mercurial, anything is fine. And you need to write test cases so that you will know that the merge passes. You cannot like blindly merge all the development branches and assume that it would work. You need to know that it would pass. So you need to write test cases, and you have to commit regularly. So the greater, the longer a branch of code remains without being checked in, there is a lot of risk there. So I've already told you this is an integration hell. So you have to like have a setup running so that you will like commit every often to your own development branch, and the CI setup will actually take care of merging all your development branches and pushing it to master branch. So there is some other term called as continuous delivery. So let us assume that you actually have the code in your Git repository, but the code is actually not helpful to your company or to you if it's just in the Git repository. You have to like push it to production. So CD actually helps you with that. So CD is a process where it gives you the assurance that every code that you push to the master branch is actually a production ready code. So CD can be continuous delivery or continuous deployment. So the difference between them is actually a bit simpler. In continuous delivery, every code will not be actually pushed to the production channel. It will be kept in a staging setup, similar to alpha or beta that we have in the Play Store. And it requires a manual touch, a human touch to actually push it to the production. But continuous deployment is where every code that you push to the Git repository will actually see the production without any form of human intervention. So this is it, and as you see, build and test are actually continuous integration, and the code is actually, in continuous delivery, the code is actually deployed to staging, but as you see, the deployed to production is a manual touch. So that is the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So most probably you will want continuous delivery because you don't want your code to be pushed to production without you knowing. So these are the these are the advantages. You can detect the bugs earlier. Because CI happens every day, and you will know whether you will know what code causes the issues, and you can actually fix it earlier. And I've known some people who actually like postpone the committing work. They will not check in their code. They will keep their code off from the main repository and like do the check-in like once in a week or once in a month or once a module is done. So that is actually bad, and you have to like you will know that when you do that, and when you work with multiple people, that actually causes issues. And since you have to like commit workable code every time, your code becomes modular. So modular code is what we actually speak a lot now. And since you every commit that you do to the master branch should be a workable code. So by default you will actually like commit the modular code and your code base will become much cleaner. So how many of you are aware of GitLab? Not GitHub, GitLab. Very few. So GitLab is actually a web-based Git repository that is different from GitHub. So this is a comparison. GitLab actually is a Git repository, and it provides authentication support. Because I mean, if you are in an organization, GitLab is more suitable for you than GitHub. And if you are a free user in GitHub, you will know that there is only one private repository that you can have in the GitHub. GitLab doesn't have any such restrictions. You can have unlimited private repositories and make it public whenever you want and whenever you feel confident. And GitLab has inbuilt CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines. GitHub doesn't have that. GitHub needs external third-party softwares like Travis, Jenkins, Circle CI, etc. So I'll come back to that later. And GitLab is much cheaper. Even if you want a paid subscription to that, GitLab is cheaper than GitHub. And if you're like worried, I have a GitHub repository, but I mean, what if I want to move to GitLab? It's much easier, and it is a single-click process. So you can actually like go to GitLab, just say import project from GitHub, and that's it. Yeah, GitLab is open source. GitLab Community Edition is open source. Even the GitLab code base is open source. GitHub is not open source. It's actually a pipeline. There are multiple stages where each stage has a set of jobs. So as you can see here, build is a stage. I mean, what we do normally, we build the project, we test it, we then deploy it to some alpha beta channel and then deploy it to production. So this is typically what we are going to do by using automation. So what we do is build, and then during the testing phase, we actually have unit testing, espresso testing, everything. So once that is passed, you can actually go to the staging phase, where it is actually like you can actually deploy to production or alpha or beta channel, or if you have any like internal deployment tools, you can actually use that. And deployment to production can be automated or manual. So this is a continuous delivery pipeline graph, where the production to the production stage is actually a manual trigger. So see that it has a play button there. So that is a manual trigger, and that is actually the continuous delivery process. So the deployment to production actually needs a human intervention. So these are the pipelines. So it is actually like similar to the image that I have explained before. So we have the project pipeline where we actually like assemble all the pieces of code that we have, and then like the CI pipeline, which includes the building and testing, and then the deploy pipeline, which deploys to staging and the production. So that is alpha, beta, and then production. GitHub doesn't, as I said, GitHub doesn't have any out-of-box CI/CD support. So this is specific to GitLab. So I'll just explain this, and after this I'll just show you a live demo so that you will get to know more about this. So in order to like have a CI pipeline to run, you need some server for that. So here GitLab Runner is a software that runs a job in the stages, and it is written in Go language. It is actually open source, and the code is available for you to see. And the jobs are executed concurrently. That means if you have like 4 GitLab Runner instances and you have multiple test case suites, it can actually like reduce the time drastically by like splitting up the test cases parallelly among multiple runners. And it supports Docker, Parallels, everything. So even Kubernetes is supported. So here is a thing, and developers actually like a baby pushes to the GitLab server. We just like commit the code, and then everything is like magic. So we just push the code, and the GitLab server is a piece of software that is running somewhere else. It just polls the GitLab repository for any changes to the master branch or any branch that you want to like listen to. And once it finds a change in the repository, it can actually like do the building, testing, publishing scripts. And then once that is done, it can actually like take the artifacts, that is the APK, the test reports, everything, and deploy it to the staging server. So these are the 3 stages that you want to have in your want to do when you set up GitLab Runner. So you have to like install it, and then you have to register it to the repository, and then you have to run the GitLab Runner on the server. So the steps is, I can just go through this. So GitLab Runner is supported for Linux, Mac, and Windows. So whatever the system that you have, it can actually support anything. So the installing part is pretty simple. You can actually like download the script and then run it. So it's pretty much simple here. And then you come to the registering part. So when you register, there is something called as shared runner and specific runner. So what I mean by shared runner is, assume that your organization has a lot of projects and you have a single server that you can offer. So what you can do is you can actually like set up the shared runner to the organization, and everyone and every project in the organization can actually use that shared runner. So it's like a lot of projects with similar requirements can be run on this runner. So this is useful if you want to have like a lot of small projects and that doesn't require a lot of like heavy testing or heavy deployment functions. And this can be set up only by the GitLab administrator. So when you go to gitlab.com, you are not the administrator, so you cannot like create a shared runner. But if you have a self-hosted GitLab repository setup running in your organization, you can actually like create a shared runner that every project in your organization can use and benefit from that. So specific runner is the thing that you like create for a single repository or a group of projects that requires a heavy CI activity. So assume that I have a like heavy app that like has 30 MB. That takes like 30 minutes or 1 hour to process all the test cases. So in those cases, what will happen in the shared runner is the other projects will have to wait till this completes the process. So specific runner can actually help with the cases. So coming to the registering part, you can actually like, it's a simple command, GitLab runner register. So it will actually ask a lot of questions for that. They are actually pretty simple. You have to like GitLab CI. It will ask you for the GitLab CI URL. That is, if you're going to use gitlab.com, you can just simply say https://gitlab.com. So that should be enough. And it will ask you for the token. So it will be available in the settings of the repository. I will just show you in a moment. And you have to like give the description, and you can actually say that this runner can execute jobs which has the particular tag. So it is actually like waste of resources if you're going to run the entire process for all the commits that you make. So instead of that, you can actually like ask the runner to like run the jobs for commits which has a particular tag. So this is where this thing will help you. And once the registering part is done, you can just say GitLab runner run, and it will just start as a foreground process. So as I said earlier, this is what we want to do: build, test, and deploy. So far I have not shown you any code to do that, and what we saw till now is just a setup process which is to be done only once. So it's not like a continuous process that you have to do every time that you want to do the whole build, test, deploy process. So that is a single time setup that your organization can do, so that you can actually like forget about the setup and just focus on producing code. So to like tell the CI server what you want to do, you actually use a language called as YAML. So YAML is similar to JSON, except that it is syntactically different, but underlying thing is actually same. So you have a root file. You have to like add a root. File in the root folder, gitlab.gitlab-ci.yml, that actually says that, what the GitLab server should do with your repository. So do you guys have any doubts so far? Nothing? Can you proceed? So this is actually the code that can actually like build and test your code. So this is a file that can actually like clone your repository, build your APK files, and then do the unit testing, and then do the functional testing. So this is what I felt when I first saw this code, and but actually it is pretty simple. What you can do is we can actually like split it up. Let's see that it has variables. It's a similar data type variable string, and there is something called as before script. So as you can see, as I said earlier, everything is a job according to stage pipelines. So jobs can be grouped to stages, but everything is a single job. There might be some reason that there might be some requirements that you have to like execute before each job, like saying creating a repository or deleting some things or downloading a Gradle repository or Android SDK. So that's what you specify in here. Before script is executed, before every job that you have. So in here I just have like the code to download the Android SDK, the Google Play services, everything, and then I'm just setting the path and making Gradle W executable. And then we specify the stages. So by default we have build, test and deploy stages. In here I have just the build and test. So I just say, if it is not mandatory that you specify the stages, but it is like useful for you to see what is happening if you like specify the stages. And this is a job. A job actually like a job is associated with a stage. So as you can see here, stage is actually this one. So the build job is associated with the build stage, and I'm actually executing the assemble debug code, assemble debug command that actually like generates me the APK file. So once the script is run, my outputs will be in the folder app build outputs. So my APKs will be generated there. So what I do is I just zip them up. What this piece of code does is it just zips them up and get it to me in an interface in the GitLab. So I can just download them, and instead of just going through the folders, everything, I can just download the output files directly from the GitLab. So this is another job that does the unit testing, and this is another job for the functional testing or UI testing. So in here it's just like downloading the emulator, creating a new emulator, opening up the emulator, waiting for it to open up, and then does the compiled Android test code there. So as you can see here, you have like we have actually seen like stage, script, before script. Those are the parameters that we have seen so far, artifacts, path. So in addition to this, YAML actually provides a lot of other things. So they are actually like there is something called as when, which you can actually specify like all the jobs are like sequentially executed. Once the build is executed, you can actually like execute the test and then the functionality test. So instead of that, you can actually like make a job to be executed manually, or when it is only on the master branch or in the dev branch or something like that. So when can be like when only and except can be, all these tags can be used for specifying those kind of things. So when manually, or only on the master branch, except on the master branch, or only jobs which have a tag, so and so. So these are the other things that you can use. And after script is similar to before script, except that it is executed after each job is done. So you can actually like have your cleanup code so that your Git server will not have hog the resources. And yeah, so far the code I have shown you has only build and test stages. I'm not talking. I didn't speak about the deploy stage. That for that you can actually like use this first Gradle, GitHub project, Gradle Play Publisher. It's actually like it allows you to specify a Gradle job that you can actually like configure so that when you execute that Gradle task, it actually publishes your app to the Play Store, either alpha, beta, or production. So you can do anything from that, and it can also like take screenshots. Take the screenshots in the repository and upload it to your Play console. So another tool is Fastlane. Fastlane is actually like now with Google. Fastlane actually got acquired by Fabric, and then Fabric got acquired by Google, and so Fastlane is with Google. Fastlane actually like simplifies all of the YML thing that I have shown you, and it can actually like give you a much more like cleaner CI/CD pipeline. So if you are stuck with GitHub and you cannot move to GitLab, there are other things that you can use like Travis, Jenkins, or Circle CI. They provide, if I'm not sure, they provide free usage for public repositories. So if your organization has private repositories, you cannot use these things if you want to pay for them. But Travis and Circle CI provides free CI/CD for public repositories. So, how comes the demo? So I've created a sample application that does nothing actually. It's just a simple application which has 2 edit text fields and then a calculate button. It just adds the 2 numbers and displays it. So there is nothing here. I have written like the unit test cases and the functional test cases. So we will not go to that. Okay, so this is GitLab's user interface, and I'm not sure why this is happening. So this is GitLab's user interface, and I have a project called Devfest. Okay, I created it last time. So this is almost similar to what you have in GitHub. So as you can see, it has all the things that is there in GitHub, except that the UI is a bit different. And in here you can actually see there is CI/CD. So it is actually a first-class citizen for GitLab, but it is not there in GitHub. So if you want to like set up a system, I'll just show you now. You have to go to like settings, CI/CD. It's over here, and runner settings. So in here, as I said earlier, there is something called a specific runner and shared runner. It is specific runners are those that can be used for a single project. Shared runners are like the organization level runners that you can use for anything. So I've actually like created a runner, and it is already running. So I just follow the procedures. If you want to know how it is actually registered, let me know. I'll just show you the demo. So it is. Let us assume that we have completed all those features, and now the GitLab runner is up and running. So let me make a change in the repository. So now that I have made the change, the CA is already running. So this is the commit that I have done, and the CA is already running, and I have like 3 stages here: build, test, and functional test. So the build process is actually completed. Unit test cases are running. You can actually see the output here. What is printed on the logs, and that is done too. Now it is trying to run the functionality test. I'm not sure. It's doing something. So it is done too. So now that all of our jobs are done, we actually get a pass tag along with our commit. So even if we go to the repository, you'll actually get a tick over here. So you will know that this repository, this file can actually be compiled and actually generates working code for that. So that is based on your unit test and functional test. So in the CI/CD pipeline, you can actually like download the artifacts. This called as artifacts, and I have like exported the build artifacts, that is the APK files, and the unit test artifacts and the functional test artifacts. So they are like the HTML reports that is generated when you do the unit test and functional test. So when you download, you can actually like just see that. So if we have like other product flavors, everything, we can actually like set up our YML file such that it is like working for every case that our app handles. I know this would be sort of blank, for those people who are not like into this. And if you guys have any doubt, you can actually contact me, and I'm a beginner here, and I'll try as much to help you guys.